Hey y'all, so today I'm doing the military spouse tag. I've seen a couple of these and I find them really fun to watch. I just want to put a disclaimer out there that every spouse's experience with the military is different, and I'm not trying to say that anything that I say is definitive about the military, it's just my experience. And I know when I was first starting out as a military spouse, the more experiences I heard about, the more I knew what to expect. So if you watch a few of these on YouTube, you're probably going to see that most people's experiences are very different, and that's just what makes military unique. So, there's 25 questions. I have them right here on my iPad. I'm just going to read them. The first one is, how did you and your spouse meet? My husband and I met in high school in world history class. How old were you when you two met? I think I was 13, and he was probably 13 going on 14. Um, how long have you been together? We dated our junior year of high school for a few months. It wasn't anything long or serious. And then I went to college and he worked at a UPS store, and we remained really good friends. And then right after he was done with boot camp, we started dating, and then a few months after that, we got engaged, and now we've been married for 2.5 years. Where are you and your spouse originally from? We're both originally from Gainesville, Florida. How did you feel about him joining the military? My husband always mentioned joining the military throughout high school when we were friends, so it wasn't a huge surprise to me that he wanted to join, and I definitely didn't have any problems with it. Where did your spouse go to basic training? My husband went to Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island in South Carolina. Has your spouse ever been deployed? Yes. My husband was deployed about 2 weeks after we got married. He was deployed with the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit for, I want to say 7 or 8 months. Ever been to his promotion ceremony? Yes, I've been to 2 of his promotion ceremonies. They're really fun. If you ever have the opportunity to go to one, even if you're not pinning your spouse, it's still a really fun ceremony to watch. I've both pinned, gone to pin, and gone to watch, and I enjoyed both of them. It's just a really special moment. They usually will recognize you as a spouse too for just supporting them. So I'll insert pictures of both of those here. One, I was pinning him as a corporal, and then the second one, I was pinning him to be a sergeant. How long have you been a military wife? Since we got married, so 2.5 years. But my husband just EAS'd. Like, yesterday was his official EAS date, so technically yesterday is my last day being a military spouse, but I figured as a first video, I could go ahead and put this video up just as a starting point. Did you marry him before or after he joined? We were not dating when he joined. We didn't start dating until after he graduated from boot camp. But at the time, I was in my 3rd year of college, and he was joining the Marine Corps, and we both just had this understanding that if we don't try and date each other and see where it goes now, then our lives probably will not, coincide again together, or we're just going to get farther from each other unless we decide to make a move and get married kind of thing. I think we both went into dating with that mindset of either we're going to get married and our lives are we're going to know that we're meant to, or we're not. We're going to be sort of separate. How did your husband propose? At the time, my husband was at his first duty station and his only duty station at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, and it was June 1st, and I had gone up to visit him. I had gone up several times to visit him, and we went out to Hammocks Beach State Park. We went out to Bear Island. We had to go to the state park and then take a ferry ride out to the island and then walk on the island. And I just remember him acting weird that day. He and I had talked and thought about marriage, and there were times when I'd gone to visit him and I thought he would propose then maybe, but this time when I went to see him, it just wasn't on my mind. And I remember him acting funny that day and not being sure why. And I remember we got out of the car, and he was carrying our beach bag, and that's where the ring was. And I went to put my keys and my phone in the beach bag because I didn't want to carry them in my hand. And he was really protective of the beach bag. What pocket do you want to put those in? I'll put them in, because he didn't want me to see the ring. And then we got out to the beach. We were laying there on the beach and on our towels. We were sharing a towel. We got one of those huge towels and we shared it. and we still have that towel. It's a special towel. And that's where he proposed, and it was really sweet. And then that night we went out to dinner with a bunch of our friends to celebrate, and I told my family. Now, after that happened, I found out that my husband, he didn't ask my father for permission or anything like that, but he texted a picture of the ring to my brother, who I think was he might have been living in Kentucky at the time. So he texted a picture to my brother. My brother was like, "What?" And he texted it to my parents and was like, "I think Thomas is going to propose to her this weekend. This is crazy." So, and then they told my grandparents, who told other people in my family. So a lot of my family members knew that was probably going to happen that weekend, but I obviously had no clue. Where did you get married? So there's kind of a story behind our wedding, and we got engaged in June. We didn't plan to get married until May of 2014, after I had graduated college. We were going to spend a year engaged and planning our wedding, and we had done just that. We had been engaged for 8 months. We had wedding venue, reception venue, invitations picked out, music lined up. I was in the process of having my mother's wedding gown tailored and altered to fit me, and I remember I was literally on my way with stamped and addressed save the dates in hand, on my way to the post office, and my husband called me, and it was in my last semester of college too, at the University of Florida, and he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm on my way to the post office to send our mail date, so happy about it." And he said, "Don't do that." And I just remember thinking, does he have cold feet? Like, what is this about? And he said, "I'm deploying in like 2 weeks." I was like, oh wow. But we decided that we wanted to be married before he left. I was really grateful to have family that supported us in that decision. I think they just understood that we were truly in love, and if he was going to get deployed, I wanted to be married to him. So both of our families made the drive. I was living in Florida at the time, so was my family where we grew up. Made the drive from Florida to North Carolina. My grandparents, aunt and uncle, his parents, cousins, and we got married at the courthouse in North Carolina. I had a white dress that I had bought the spring before. My grandmother finished up. She was making my garter, and she finished it up really quick so I could wear it. And it was great. And we had a reception at the Longhorn Steakhouse, which sounds silly, but my family planned it for us. We got married, and then immediately after that we had to go to base and get me like registered for benefits, ID card, and everything like that. In the meantime, my family was like setting up this reception and they even got like centerpieces for the tables at Longhorn Steakhouse, and they ordered a cake that was red velvet. We wanted a red velvet cake, so it was just really great. And I think that whole experience just really helped me to understand that it wasn't about the decorations and the music and anything like that for the wedding. It was about the people who were there, because our closest family was there, and at the time we thought when he came back from deployment we would plan our original wedding, but then we just realized, that was our wedding, and we really loved it, and it was about the people who were there at the time. It's not about decorations and dresses and things like that. So now, I'm not discouraging anybody who wants to plan a wedding like that. I'm all for it. Those are beautiful, fun, fabulous weddings, but I just think the uniqueness of our wedding, I wouldn't change anything about it. We love it. So, how old were you two when you got married? I was 21 and he was 22. Did he wear his uniform on his wedding day? Yes, he did. I will insert a picture here of that. Where are you and your spouse currently stationed? So, like I said, my husband just EAS'd officially yesterday. He and I are about to start school at Auburn University, both of us. So the only duty station that he was ever at, that we were ever at together, was Camp Lejeune in North Carolina, but it's not where we are now. Now we're in Alabama. Did you live on base? No, we didn't. We just found that living in it for just the two of us, and this might have been different if we had had children, but for just the two of us, we were able to save a lot of money by living off base. How long were you married when you had to go through your first separation? So like I said, we got married, and then we got married one weekend. The weekend after that, I had to go home and continue classes, and the weekend after that, I flew back up to North Carolina to tell him goodbye one last time. And then I flew back home because I was still in classes. I still had to go to school. And then the second weekend after we got married was when he left on deployment. So pretty much 2 weeks after we got married was when we were separated. And for probably 75 to 80% of the first year of our marriage, we were separated because he was deployed. And looking back on it now, it was a really hard time, and we say that it might not have been the best year of our marriage, but it might have been the best year for our marriage because we learned a lot about, trusting each other and all that kind of thing. What is your favorite base so far? I really have only been to Parris Island and Camp Lejeune, so I guess Camp Lejeune, I don't think I can offer any quality, reviews on bases since I've only been to those 2. Do you think your spouse looks good in his uniform? Yes, I do. When my husband is in his uniform, I check him out. He looks very good. It's just something about a uniform. It just looks so clean and cut and, tough. And yeah, he looks very good in his uniform. Do you think military life is more advanced than civilian life? No. It has its challenges, but every life has its challenges. So that's kind of a weird question. Do you like the benefits you receive as a military dependent, or that I did receive anyway? Yes, that was probably one of the scariest transitions for us, from going from, when we got married, having all those benefits right away, to transitioning to civilian life when now we have to pay for healthcare and we don't have access to a commissary exchange, obviously, so we're couponing a lot more and watching sales. So yes, we definitely appreciated those. I appreciated those benefits, and I think that a lot of people who are transitioned out of the military would also agree that that's one of the hardest parts of transitioning, is not having those things you can depend on anymore. Do you have a lot of military wife friends? Yeah, I have a handful of military wife friends. It's kind of funny. All the friends that I made when I first got there, especially when my husband was deployed, a lot of them have actually moved away from Camp Lejeune, so I still keep up with them on Facebook and everything like that, and we're friends, but if I were to go back to Camp Lejeune, I don't think I'd know very many of the spouses there that are still there now. That's kind of one of the nice things about military life, is that especially when you're going through separation so much, military spouses and families just really learn to rely on each other. You're away from your family, so you don't have that. So you just kind of have to create a family where you are, and the military spouses are some of your best friends. What is the hardest part of military life? Definitely separations, whether it's for a week for training, a couple days in the field, or several months of deployment. That's always the hardest part, especially if you are watching the news and there's news about casualties or something like that. It just makes you nervous, and there were definitely times during my husband's deployment when I wasn't sure when I was going to hear from him next, and even times when he couldn't tell me where he was, and that's just really scary. So that's definitely the hardest part. Do you own military wife stuff? Yeah. I have this shirt because, he was a Marine. Also, when he was in boot camp, I remember he wrote me a letter, because they have these shirts that are pretty popular around boot camp that say, "I love my Marine." And I remember he wrote me a letter saying it would be really cool if I had a shirt like that. And at the time, we weren't even dating. I wasn't even his girlfriend, and he wrote me that. So I have that shirt, and then those are the only 2 shirts that are really mine. There have been times he'll go to a training or do a class or go to a different base, and he'll bring me back a shirt from that base. Like when he was deployed, he brought me back a shirt from a base that he visited. So a couple of shirts really, but I don't think I have anything else. Support your spouse as a member of the military, or did you? Yes, I absolutely supported my husband, but I support my husband no matter what he does. I've always told him, I don't care what you do as long as you love it, whether that's military or not the military. And so yeah, I support him if he's in the military or not, but especially in the military, I think that your military member, they rely a lot on you a lot more for that support, because it is just a very different lifestyle. So yeah, anyway, I hope you all enjoyed this tag. It's just a starting point for this channel. If you have any questions, please leave them below. I'll try to answer them the best I can. But like I said, everybody's experiences are different, from seasoned spouses to very young spouses. So yeah, and thank you.